You want to get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim?
California dreaming.
All right. Hello, everybody. Okay, welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's me. Joining me today is Mia Mars, everybody. Remember Mia Mars? Everybody, you guys remember Mia Mars. Because you were on, I think like a year ago or something, we did a podcast back in the olden days, outside the Sycamore Tavern. Remember when people used to like go places to do comedy? Dude, remember we would like pay money to go on stage? We would actually pay money.
You remember stages when like comedy wasn't confined to squares?
Yeah, it was actually in person. Those were the old days. Wow. It was actually, I really think that was a golden age we lived through of like open mics and stuff. You know what I mean? Just imagine the amount of open mics there were. There were so many. You know what I mean?
Many. You could hit multiple open mics in one day. And you could even hit free ones in one day. Remember when we were like, the fuck is this fourth wall shit? They're paying us. And now it's like, I got to practice this 5-minute bit in front of not comics.
Right. Yeah. And the fact that you could do, basically New York was the only place you could do something like that, hit up that many mics in a day. But LA was on its way to becoming as saturated as New York, in terms of like spots you can go up and stuff, which I don't know. I mean, it could be good. It could be bad. For me, I felt like it was kind of a bubble just because like I live by Bert's back room and I saw like 3 other mics with the exact same formula just pop up in like a 5-block radius. You know what I mean? Like it just.
Oh yeah, Melrose for a while there. Then there was that female one.
Yeah. And then there was a coffee shop. There was Sal's. There was like, they were just so.
Donkeys.
Oh my. Oh yeah, Donkeys. Yeah. Wow. But anyways, I feel like that was it was truly a golden era. You know what I mean? It was just like mics galore, mics everywhere. I don't mean maybe it'll get back to there, but it's gonna be it's gonna be tough to recover from this stuff.
We're slowly gonna build up into it again. I have a feeling that we're not gonna have audience rows of people anymore. They're all gonna be little tables to be more sequestered. Yeah, I was listening to Phyllis Diller, and she said there were no open mics back then. You had an audition.
Right. Yeah.
If you had an audition, that was.
Well, who knows? But anyways, so you were just saying that you are back in your childhood home. Where are you right now?
I'm in Playa del Rey. I'm in between Marina del Rey and the airport. There's a tiny little slip of land there next to the beach and the Bayona wetlands, and it's like Venice Beach with a hangover. I love Playa del Rey. I'm such a West Side girl. I
mean, you grew up there, so it's just like kind of.
Yeah, I went.
Must be real familiar. Yeah, must be just like home. Yeah.
I went to the coffee shop the other day. I saw her name is coincidentally Mia. Went to go see Mia, the coffee shop owner. And I saw Doug Welch, who, I went to college with his brother, and all of our neighborhood friends were the same growing up as a kid, like Brittany Howard and Tess Amelia. And, we all knew each other, but like, oh, we have to meet this way. Okay, neighborhood. Yeah. How are you doing out there in Hollywood?
I'm fine. Well, actually, interestingly enough, this is where I grew up too. So I grew up in like K-Town in Hollywood, and so it's weird. It's like really. I mean, you could see how it's infantilizing, with the toilet paper and all for everybody. You know what I mean? Like just in general for people, it's like because it's the whole thing's like a scary crisis, so it makes you kind of, I guess, revert in a way, but it is trippy being literally where I grew up while this is going on, and just being like, yeah, I mean, it really, I don't know, it really brings it home.
Literally. Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not with any of my family. That's really what makes it good for me is that the fact that, I mean, that is one of the things I realized when I moved back here from New York was that, for the longest time I hated LA, and I was like, oh, I hate LA and I hate LA. And then I kind of realized, it's not LA I hate, it's my family. And so So wherever they are, I would probably hate it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's things about LA that are great. Like there's no reason to just hate a whole place.
No, I notice when most people are like, I hate LA, two things happen. One, you only go to like 3 fucking places, explore this enormous city. Number 2, you don't really hate LA, you just hate show business.
Right. Or just what LA represents, or just the worst of LA, which is fine, but you don't, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people come here. LA is the kind of place, this is the thing I say all the time. LA was basically just like willed into existence by rich dudes who stole water from poor people. You know what I mean? Like that's That's basically the story of LA. Yeah. It's a dreamland.
Thank you, Mulholland.
Yeah, exactly. Mulholland. Basically, Chinatown and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, to me, are like the 2 movies that encapsulate. Yeah. Somewhere in there lies the truth of the history of LA. You know what I mean? Like, but it's essentially the same story. It's essentially rich developers who fucked over everybody, and then just made a ton of money exploding this place. So I feel like the mentality is the same for people who come here. It's sort of a real sort of like speculative mentality of just like kind of showing up and being like, all right, I'm here. What's going to happen? It's like a gold rush mentality.
It is more of a concept than an actual place to them. Yeah,
exactly. So when they hate it, it's like, it's really a mirror, right? It's really the things that they see in themselves that they hate, that I think that's what they hate. You know what I mean? It's like, cause it really brings out both, it's like the best and the worst of a person, and like this place really makes you, as good as you could be or as bad as you could be, and I think that
maybe you'll end up a surfer, maybe you'll end up with the Latin Kings, who knows?
Yeah, or just crazy or homeless, or both, like that's a path, for a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of crazy, now you wanted to talk about mental health.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I
yes,
could talk about LA forever, but I know you wanted them.
No, you're right. Thank you for coming me up, because that is indeed, it made me. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So
Nurses Appreciation Week next week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, great. I wish it would be awesome if every day of May had a different. It was like, one day was like Mania Day, and the next day was like Depression Day, and like every day was a celebration.
Nobody celebrates depression. Nobody would go outside to celebrate depression.
Actually, that's not true, because there's so many movies and shit, and so many people just kind of fetishize being depressed. You know what I mean? They're like because there's like a whole doomer generation and stuff. There's a whole like. So I don't know. I feel like for some people, it's the only hardship they have. And so they wear it like a badge. You know what I mean? There's like, they're actually not starving or anything. And not to say I have suffered from depression my whole life. So not to like downplay. Like it sucks.
Sometimes the only way to get over depression, even though it hurts you physically, because you feel like a worse human being, like, oh, I am so lucky. Why am I so depressed? You know?
Yeah.
Like I have food and I have shelter. Why am I so depressed? Mm-hmm. And then that makes you feel even fucking worse.
Yes.
But sometimes the only way to like realize your depression and like feel good is being like, hey, I have this lucky stuff. Maybe I should share it. Not share it, but like, hey, I'm lucky. Maybe I should go hand out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to the homeless or something.
Yeah. Now that is a thing I've heard a lot is like, just go volunteer if you want to change your perspective. And you actually feel good, actually feel better as a person, as a human being, to actually do something for somebody else, Yeah. And I think, isn't that interesting? It's like we have a society that doesn't really care about people or helping others. So there's not even like the slightest inkling that like, hey, this could be good, not just for other people, but for you too. You know what I mean? It could be good to like do something beneficial for others. I
read recently how to make friends and influence people.
Oh yeah, I read that a while back. Yeah.
And they said like in the first 2 chapters, what all people want is like an importance. All people want is like a reason or a connection. They want to have an influence on somebody else.
Yeah.
So even if you are depressed, that is your role in life, and you become, the role of the depressed person. There was one woman who was just so depressed, and her mom like took care of her all day. So, the mom had the role of, taking care of the kid, and the kid was the one taken care of. So they had these roles. And then when the mom died, a week later, the kid was like, I'm going to go out into the world.
Right.
Because she didn't have an importance anymore like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's very complex. I mean, people are both, I feel like, incredibly complex and simple at the same time. You know what I mean? Like there's something that sort of it unites all of us in a lot of ways. I mean, I think a lot of it is the fact that we were all babies at one point. At one point we were all babies, and then we had to grow up, and then we had parents, and we all had to go through that thing.
Some of us are orphans.
Yeah, but you still had to be a baby. I mean, the lack of parents is also a thing. You know what I mean? It's like, because my parents were never around. So basically it was like, it was like kind of dealing with that. That's like just as much as your parents can be like a force in your life, the absence of them can also be a weird force in your life. You know what I mean? Like it's like
there are authority figures. And when you're a kid, you think adults know everything.
Yeah.
You think adults know everything. You think they're God. And whether they're around or not, you're like, they're doing the right thing, right? No, they're just doing their best. Right.
And then as children, I think we all have a tendency, it's weird, but it's all, you blame yourself. I think it's because like we're kind of narcissistic as kids. You know what I mean? So you're just like,
mine.
Yeah, it's about me. So I must have been bad. And that's why they're not mom and dad or like divorcing or something. That's a very super common thing. But dude, so I was just reminded why I wanted to talk to you about this, because you put up a post that was like, I think you said a year ago is when you went into the hospital and stuff, and you put up a post of your bracelet and shit. Yeah, you went to the psych ward. So like what basically, you've talked about this stuff on stage. Like well, first of all, do you want to talk about just like what happened? Got you into the hospital? Yeah, like how did you end up in the hospital? Yeah.
Speaking of parents and being crazy, my mom was crazy, and she was really projecting her divorce and a lot of things. And, we were all a little sad after Brody died. And, I was a little sad. And my mom.
Wait. Oh, sorry. Who's Brody?
Brody Stevens.
Oh,
Brody
God
Stevens.
damn it. Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
Brody Stevens, fantastic comedian. He was a master with rhythm. Mm-hmm. He was such a master with rhythm, and he was a drummer. And, like, if I say it like this, you're gonna think it's funny. There's my mom.
Go for it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know you were talking about Brody Stevens. Yeah, man. That was tough. That was tough.
All a little sad.
Yeah, that was fucked up just because it's like you kind of knew he had problems, but nobody really saw it coming, like just.
We all thought he had his shit together.
Yeah. He seemed happy. Yeah.
Like he was in my apartment like 2 weeks before, and I remember being excited, like, oh boy, he's in my apartment. And when I moved into my apartment, there was already a Brody Stevens sticker on my freezer, exactly at my eye level. So I used to say to Brody, I wake up to you every morning, technically. He thought it was weird until he went to my apartment and saw the sticker. He's like, okay.
He's like, oh, that makes sense. All right.
He's like, okay, you're not that freaky. But when he died, I put a little halo on the sticker. Anyways, we were all a little depressed, and my mom didn't like it. And my mom likes to take people into a whirlwind, and she managed to convince my entire family to have an intervention for me about my depression. And I don't know, my mom also thought I was a drug addict and shit. When we fight, sometimes she'll throw that out there, like, go take some drugs. Okay, Mom, you're the one that grew up an alcoholic. And point is, after this intervention, I ended up going to this rehab to make everybody happy, mostly my dad. And I wasn't getting the help I needed. Every day I would say, I'm not getting better. I'm not getting better. I don't belong here. I'm not getting better. And eventually I lost my shit. I was banging my head against the glass shower. I was burning myself with cigarettes. And when the ambulance took me away to Ronald Reagan, because you got to go to a place before they take you to the psych ward, you need a little stepping stone. When I was there, it felt like such relief. There was people there that could laugh in the ambulance. I was making people laugh in the ambulance, and it felt purpose again.
Yeah.
So after Ronald Reagan, they took me to the psych ward. I'm like, okay, I'm in my worst nightmare. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to go to the psych ward because you might enjoy it. It's only 3 days and you'll come up with some interesting stories. And I learned a lot of shit in the psych ward. I learned how to play spades. I learned that you can be a good influence on people if you're kind, or if you're yourself, you can have a good influence on people. I remember, one time I cried because one of my roommates was like, I'm going to miss Mia at the little classes we have with the social worker every day. And the classes aren't fucking hard. They give you like a little worksheet that looks like a third grader would do it. And it's like, what makes me frustrated? And you write down what makes you frustrated. And then they're like, well, here's some tools you can do when you're frustrated. Here's the breathing technique that the yogis use to calm you down. You take 8 deep breaths in for 8 seconds, and then you release it with your tongue against your front back teeth. And you go, and it makes you calmer. I learned a lot of little things like that. I had 4 roommates. One of them had dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities technically, but it's very much over fictionalized in movies, and she really taught me, nah, it's not like that. Like, did I do that or did my body do that? She would often say, did you see me physically see my body do that?
Oh, whoa, yeah.
She's a Korean lady. She was Korean, and she outlived like 5 of her brothers.
Whoa.
And, yeah. Then my other roommate outlived 4 of her husbands, and she slept in her sunglasses. Her name was Terry. She slept all day. It was great.
That's pretty awesome.
I shouldn't have said that. And then there was who I called Mama. Mama took care of you. Mama liked to repeat herself a lot, but Mama looked out for you. She also was a clothes hoarder.
Okay.
Because if you would be like, hey, I need some clothes from the donation bin, they always gave me the children's clothes because those were the only ones that fit. But you become a little community, and when I couldn't sleep, I would just like go to the nurses and chat with them, and they're like, you should be in bed. And I'm like, no. Tell me about the most interesting thing that has ever happened to you here, And
eventually they'd talk to you because were they bored too, or would they force you to go back to bed?
Yeah, they were bored too. Sometimes they would force you to go back to bed. Sometimes they would be cool and be like, don't tell anyone, but I got you a soda from the big cafeteria,
Oh, sweet. Yeah. I'm sure.
It was a fancy thing that I knew existed.
Oh. Well, because you weren't like a lifer or nothing, right? Like 3 days, is that sort of like the appointed...
Oh, no, I was in there for like 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay. All right. So then what was the sort of... Well, I feel like we should go backwards. All right.
Sure.
Rehab. So your mom said you needed to go to rehab.
Yeah.
And held an intervention.
And pretty much most of my family was there, and they gave me letters, and they were crying. Lila Hart was there, and I took it as like a deposition where I said, no, I'm sorry. Have you ever seen me do drugs? Have you ever seen me do this? This is all speculation. But they're like, well, we're not going to talk to you unless you go anyway.
Wait, that's what I was going to ask. Is like, I was going to ask what drugs, like what, that's what I was going to ask. It was just like, just weed?
Right? Oh,
weed?
Is marijuana a drug?
What drug? is that the drug they're talking about? What drug are they talking? Usually there's a drug involved.
I was doing meth or some bullshit.
But that's all like they thought you were? I mean, there's no drug. So what?
One time they found a little crack pipe because I only had a little bit of weed left. And I'm like, I don't have a bowl. So I went to go buy a little crack pipe because they're like itty bitty bowls, right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, my mom saw that and freaked out.
Right. And she thought you were smoking crack because of that. But it just sounds like you said like she was an alcoholic, so there was a fair bit of projection onto you.
Oh, like a movie, man. She like a movie.
Because like that's the whole thing, right? There's the old saying of like, you are exactly the thing you accuse others of. You know what I'm saying? Like, so It just sounds like she went through a lot of trouble to convince a lot of people based on no evidence to basically convince you that you had to go to rehab. So then what made you decide to go? Like, did you just,
My
were you,
dad,
oh, really? Because
my dad
everybody,
was
it's like,
man,
they were
and
all saying you really should go. And you were like, okay, I should go.
they were like, "You don't have your life together. You haven't talked about
Ah.
this," and a lot of false accusations on their part. And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm depressed, but I'm not that bad."
Hey, and did you say Lila was there? You said like they had a
Lila
friend?
Hart was there.
What the fuck was she doing there? Like, what
I
is
don't
that?
know, my mom invited Lila Hart.
How did your mom's inviting your friends too? See, that's crazy. Okay, so honestly, it sounds like what they were doing is holding an intervention about comedy.
Oh, they held it at the Laugh Factory, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it literally was like they sent you to rehab because of comedy. Because all of your behaviors is really just because you made a series of life choices about wanting to be a comedian, and that's what it's not drugs. It's literally like drugs, but it's not drugs. It's
And they never consulted my therapist or anything.
right.
Right, and the rehab, like the intervention host lady. You know who else was there? Elizabeth Croydon. Elizabeth Croydon was there too, and she'll tell you all the funny shit I did.
But so your mom basically convinced them that you had a problem, even though they never saw you do drugs either or have a problem? Wow,
And
that's insane.
one time I got really drunk. I accidentally, I was drinking my buddy Jason Tebow's drink. We have a little deal where I give him cigarettes. Sometimes he'll give me a drink at the comedy store.
Uh-huh.
I stole his drink. Had no idea it was a triple Coke and whiskey. Had no idea it was a triple Coke and whiskey.
You got
Downed
wasted.
it. And I went to the Sycamore Tavern, had another drink, and by the time it all hit me, ooh, so I could see why people were freaking out over one fucking time. But
That's crazy. That is
anyway,
insane. Well, that's insane. Well, I think it's also, see, this is part of the benefits of being estranged from my family, is that they can't convince me because they would have totally tried to convince me of all of this stuff so long ago, and I would have believed them. But because I'm not close to them, I just don't believe them. You know what I mean? Like I just wouldn't ever even, but it's not your fault. I'm not saying it's your fault. It's like you actually have a family that you trusted, and you're like, oh, maybe they have a point
I
or
don't
whatever.
trust most of my family anymore after that intervention.
Well, I wouldn't think so. Yeah, but I'm just saying
my dad didn't even show up, and I'm like, my father isn't here. Why should I take this seriously?
Yeah.
I argued. Have you ever seen Ted Bundy argue his murder trials in like video? I felt like Ted Bundy, just like constantly going.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm not gonna go, and everybody was crying and shit. And they said, well, we already paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Dad, should I do this shit? He said, maybe it would be good for you. I said, I'm gonna ask my therapist. The therapist said it can't hurt. So the day before my birthday, I went to rehab.
Oh, dude, it totally hurt.
And I spent my birthday alone, surrounded by strangers, except for one girl I liked from Utah. And she had the same birthday as me. And she left like 5 days later.
Uh-huh.
And I was in there for 10 days. And no internet, no phone. Same with the psych ward. No internet, no phone. So you really become immersed in your little bubble. When I was in the psych ward, I wanted to get back to the outside world so badly. I'm like, I want to do comedy again. But now we're all sequestered and we're all like captive. And it's different because this time I can talk to my friends like you. I'm really excited to see your face. I'm not going to lie. And, the psych ward can be good for you. It really can.
No.
I learned to love myself again.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. The people you meet there. One of my roommates fell in love with my other buddy, and
all right. I love that. It's like, it sounds like you had your own like Girl Interrupted kind of like moment, like a whole. In fact, honestly, what they should have done is skip rehab and sent you directly to the psych ward.
Oh yeah,
like, that was the real.
that would have been great, but nobody understood me.
That's right. See, that's what I'm saying. If they had truly understood you, they would have advocated for you to go to the psych ward on your birthday. You know what I'm saying? They would have been like, this is what you. Mia, you obviously don't have a substance abuse problem. It's
No.
a mental health issue. I need to get you someplace, and it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have a blast. There's gonna be Big Mama's gonna be there. You're gonna have a fucking great time. You're gonna have a
You're
great
gonna
time.
want to play spades.
Dude, you're gonna learn
The
shit.
schizophrenic screaming, though. The schizophrenic screaming. I do
Yeah.
not mind the schizophrenic screaming as long as they say new, interesting shit.
So
But if they just
repetitive.
repeat themselves over
Oh.
and over and over again,
Mm.
I want to murder them.
Yeah. And that's actually ironic because most people think that the schizophrenics are the ones doing the murdering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a lot of times I bet they're the ones murdered for being
Yeah,
so
because they're
annoying.
fucking annoying.
Exactly. It's goddamn annoying schizophrenic.
There was one woman there, I called her Gollum because she had like these crazy blue eyes and stringy hair because she never took a shower.
Mhm.
And she thought she was in hell. One day, the one that slept in her sunglasses said to Gollum, "Oh, go to hell." And for like an hour, she snapped out of it. For a whole hour, she realized she was in a psych ward.
Mm.
And then she went back to, no, stop this now. The violence. I'm like, we're all watching Catfish on MTV. What fucking violence are you talking about? Lots of TV at the psych ward, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah.
Lots of TV, puzzles, Uno. Motherfucker, have you ever played Uno with someone with multiple personalities? It's hilarious.
Wow. What was that like? Was there actual like different personalities emerging at different times, or was there like?
It was, again, my roommate. Did my body do that? Did I play my card?
Oh, geez. Oh, okay.
But it's hilarious because lots of schizophrenics, and there are times where they'll be talking to somebody else and it's like, hey, it's your move. Oh, fuck, they're not there. Okay, yeah.
Do they ever laugh? Do they ever just go, haha, that was crazy, wasn't it? Like, do they ever realize in the middle of it, or are they all just kind of seamlessly going through their, like, you know, the, like whatever they believe is going on?
They laugh at it after they realize it, but in the midst of it, most of the time they're like, oh, sorry. You know, it's, they
Oh,
don't,
man.
they're stuck in it. It's such, you know,
Yeah, it must be so disorienting.
it's like watching a car crash.
Yeah, where you're just like,
So enthralled in their shit that it's hard for them to break out a little.
yeah,
So
because
it's kind of funny until like, I don't know, a few hours later. They get to overthink it and realize, oh, that wasn't real. That was, you know. And they're like, of course that's ridiculous. There's no vampires in the psych ward, you know?
Right. But then that's also kind of like, fuck, now I have no idea what's real and what's not. It's kind of like, you know, it's like because you'd be going along for a while thinking you know what's real, and then you'd be like, nah, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. Like, it's got to just be very frustrating.
There was one girl there who thought she had 100 children running around the psych ward with her. And she would always be going, these children are ungrateful. I wished her a happy Mother's Day because it was there during Mother's Day.
I bet, yeah.
It's like, do you wish her a happy Mother's Day or not? They called her the pacer because you're only allowed, I don't know. You know the outside world exists. You can, like, there's not a lot of windows, you know, but you're just stuck in these, like, same 5 rooms in a little quad, which had a fire pit. Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to put a fire pit in a psych ward, really?
I don't know. I mean, it could be a lot of fun. It could be a lot of, you could get some laughs if you, especially, not a good idea. But
no, but I would have paid to see that.
Yeah, but I'm sure it was a different time, maybe, when they built it.
I was listening to Richard Speck, the serial killer up in Sacramento. He was the vampire, Sacramento, speaking of vampires. And, you know, I was reading and it said he used to go outside and bring dead animals and give them to the nurses. And I'm like, who let this fucker outside?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Who let this fucker outside, man?
Well, not only that, it seems like it happened over and over. So they kept letting him out.
Yes.
They were like, Richard, not again.
And nurses would quit, and it's like, if nurses keep quitting, just don't let him outside. Why are you letting people outside? I don't know. I'd go back to the psych ward, but I would choose a fancy one with like croquet or some shit.
Like better activities.
Like one of those ones in like New England in a giant castle and like Girl Interrupt.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's got to be like, like nice rich people psych wards, right? With like stuff, I don't know, better amenities or something, or like, I have to imagine like the ultra wealthy also have psych wards, right? And they must also, come on. Why would they want to be hanging out with the poors when they're crazy? Like, it just seems,
I hung out with a lot of homeless people in the psych ward because some of them just stay there because it's like, it will be 2 weeks until they kick me out. I have nowhere else to go. I may as well stay here, get some free meals and a bed.
So do you think a lot of them are just kind of faking it, or like kind of just being like, yeah, no, I'm totally crazy. I'd be like, yeah, I'm fucking crazy. I'm crazy.
So much like faking it, but being like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's me. Yeah,
well, what
totally
fucking
me.
option do you have? That's what I'm just saying. It's human behavior to be like, okay, here are my choices to go out on the street or fucking stay in here. Like, I don't know. But
they wouldn't let you out a lot if you didn't have a place to stay after or a shelter or something. And one of my roommates was about to leave that day, and then she came back. I'm like, why the fuck are you back? She said, oh, they ran out of room at the shelter, so I'm back, bitch. So
you were there for 2 weeks. How was that determined? Was that like, did they say we're gonna like give you an evaluation, or were you?
They asked me some questions. Somebody who I had never met before just came up to me and was like, hi, Mia, how are you doing today? And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Are you still having suicidal feelings and shit? And I'm like, well, there's nothing stopping you from like making me hang myself, right? You're not going to do anything. I was too rational. And, she took that very seriously. And, when I left, I said, don't want to keep you hanging. And she didn't realize that was a joke. So I got stuck in there for like another, 11 days.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And every day I wanted to get out, but I was like, I'm also enjoying it too. But even the psych ward noticed that every time I had like a phone conversation with my mom at the payphones, I would get really angry. And they're like, why is that? And I'm like, because my mom has borderline personality disorder. Oh, well, my wife does too. I'm like, I don't sympathize with you because you chose to do that, motherfucker.
Right.
No sympathy.
Yeah, I mean, you were essentially Tony Soprano'd, you know what I mean? Like, you were essentially, this was her version of shooting you, having you shot, essentially. Like, she put a hit on you, essentially, and got everybody together and put you away. I mean, that sucks. And I think, if anything, I think the good thing, beyond your personal experience coming out of the psych ward and stuff, is just learning that now you can't ever trust her. You know what I mean? You can't really trust her in that way, like, which...
We tried to go to therapy, she and I, because she's my mom and I love her and shit.
Sure, yeah. Not to say, but yeah. I mean, but for a borderline...
No, they're crazy. They love their ultimatums.
Yeah, it's a thing.
And I remember I found a therapist for us that we would both like, and it took me 3 weeks to find him. We go to one session, and all she did was bitch about me that one session. I cried my eyes out. I gave her a hug, and then she's like, let's go get lunch. She does that shit. And then the next day, she goes, I can't continue to go with you to therapy because you talk to your stepfather, who I am now divorcing. I'm like, you mean the one I traveled across the country with? Yeah, I'm still going to talk to him. Sorry. Right. You have to stop talking to him, or I'm not going to therapy with you anymore. I'm like, that's fucking stupid. This is something we could have talked about in therapy, or you could have said this nicely instead of giving me an ultimatum. You could have done this many, many ways. Instead, you choose to do the cuntiest move You like had a giant array of cards, and you're like, I'm going to choose the one that will give her the most emotional damage.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because
I don't make jokes about my mom because she's not funny. She's just sad and scary.
Yeah, I don't know though. I feel like there's quite a bit there. There's a lot. I think that maybe it's like a lot of it is also, it's like your own distance from it. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably not, you might not be ready, and that's totally fine. But I feel like it's just, I mean, just like fucking Lydia Soprano, you know what I'm saying? Like, you as a character, that is literally like the worst mother in the world. But if you, I don't know, just like as a objective viewer, you can see what is amazing about this character. You know what I mean? Like hilarious, but also so tragic about this character. And, I feel like, I don't know, in some ways, I feel like there are ways to look at this as a gift, especially in terms of, as for your comedy. It's like,
it really
your mom essentially has handed you a gift that no one else could ever hand you because no one ever could make jokes about the shit that's happened to you and what she's pulled on you. You know what I'm saying? And like
good luck making that a joke that people can follow along.
Well, yeah. I mean to sick people, because we do belong in the mental asylum. You know what I mean? But fortunately, according to the DSM-4, we're not in there. We're not in there. So I say that's the only thing we have of value, and the only thing we can take of value from this life, right, is the shit that is completely ridiculous and absurd and can make you and other people laugh. It's just like going through, because I feel the same way about my own family, where there's a lot of shit. I got a lot of I dealt a shit hand about a lot of stuff, but on the other hand, I feel like the one thing, at least, thank God I decided I want to be a comedian, and this helps me. You know what I mean? Like, thank God this is actually part of, instead of fucking making jokes about Drake or just some shit that everybody talks about, I have this gold mine of incredibly traumatic experience, all these traumatic experiences that are actually hilarious given a certain light. You know what I mean? Like, and
I feel like there's two different types of comedians, improv and stand-up, of course. Mm-hmm. And the improv comedians had good childhoods.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that's why comedians are, it's all about us, right? Because we are.
It was never about us before.
Yeah. It's always about us. It's all about us on the stage with the microphone, the light shining on me. And me.
Yeah. And you all have to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Shut up. Like, what did you say? Hey, don't talk. I talk. And that's what, that's what it's all about. And I think that if part of us, I don't know, I got into like this argument with another comic who's a friend of mine, who's like kind of talking about how like people are narcissists and stuff. But I was like, but you're a comic, like, aren't you a narcissist? And she was very against. She was like, no, I'm not a narcissist. I know what a narcissist is. Like, I was in a relationship with one, and I'm not a narcissist. And you know what I mean? And I'm just like, you literally.
Projecting.
I know. I'm like, you exactly.
One person's a narcissist and everybody's a narcissist.
Exactly. I was like, that's how you know who the narcissist is. It's the one who is insisting they're not a narcissist, because that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever. Not only that, I know this girl from film school. So she literally paid thousands of dollars to make a little movie about her thoughts. And force people to watch it. And it's just like,
what makes me think that your thoughts are so worth it?
Yeah, to make an entire crew of people labor for days on it, like actually labor for days. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have a healthy dose of humility and be like, oh yeah, I'm a total fucking narcissist. Of course I am, but because otherwise I feel like you're in danger of taking yourself too seriously. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just feel like there's to me it's this whole sad clown trope, but there's a reason why it's a thing. And there's a reason why I think, at least for you and me, I feel like the comedians that resonate with us are the ones that deal with pain, right? Like the ones
I think if you don't have any pain, you're not that funny.
I mean, yeah, me too. I mean, well, I think that's always subjective, right? Like, some people aren't into that.
Laundry's done. The laundry's done if you want to pick it up. No, I'm not. I'm doing a meeting, yo.
Shit.
Ooh, bye, Andrea. One of my bunker buddies.
Laundry was done.
Yep, laundry's done.
Laundry's done.
I'm in the garage. We're with a 3-year-old, and I call it medication. It makes it so much more fun to play with her. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I can imagine.
And this child, speaking of mental health, I didn't talk till I was 4.
Wow, that's late.
I knew how to talk. I just didn't want to talk because I realized, when I open my mouth, I get in trouble with my mom. So I just didn't talk.
Holy shit! I knew it's because of your mom. Your mom didn't. Your mom didn't want you to talk. I bet she. Oh man, that's crazy. Actually, my dad has a bit of that. There's something in some parents where they're like, there's a weird like competition that's there, like an Oedipals kind of thing, like a weird thing, and so. Like from the get-go, they want to like nag their kid because of the threat that the kid represents to them. It's actually like the subject of most Greek myths. You know what I mean? Like no, really, like Zeus and Uranus or whatever. Like the whole Kronos and like the whole like line of succession of the Greek gods is always the son deposing the father, and this fear, the parent having the fear of the children like overthrowing them, so that they basically do something to the kids. You know.
Totally. And I think that like when most teenage boys go through this phase where they're like, I could totally beat up my dad.
Yeah.
They all go through that there's the oppositional, like, I don't know if it's Oedipal, but there's some weird shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that dynamic is inherent, but in some parents, it's like their own shit isn't resolved. So then it goes, you know what I mean? It like passes through them to the kid. Whereas if they had better parents, or if their shit was resolved, they would understand that like, oh, I'm creating a foundation for this new human being. Like I'm not in competition with it. You know what I mean? Like there's no like, in fact, I mean, this is actually
create a foundation. You got to be a little mean.
Sure.
Like, I'm quarantining with a 3-year-old, and okay, I never thought I would like, how dare anyone cross the child abuse line? I would never cross that line. Oh, it's unbelievable. I see the line now.
Of course.
I see what they're talking about. And there are times it's like, you don't do it. You don't do it. But there are times where you're like, I don't care if you don't want to fucking do it. You're going to go to the goddamn potty, you know? I don't care if you don't want to do it.
It's like that Chris Rock joke, right? Like you'd never do it, but you understand, right? You never beat a kid, but you understand. Well, he was talking about women, but in this case, it applies to children as well, I feel like. Except you shouldn't shake them.
Which makes it really great.
Yes. So here we are now. We're in this crazy quarantine time. I did want to talk about, what do you think? Because, okay, you know, obviously we did this for a reason, right? To mitigate the spread of the disease, flatten the curve, all the stuff they said. But the thing that's sort of not really talked about is that, you know, we do have a mental health crisis in this country, and we essentially forced everybody to stop working and socializing and put everybody under the threat of an impending invisible disease that may or may not kill them. We have no idea. And at the same time, politics still is going on. So, and the news isn't helping. So everybody's kind of in a state of complete confusion because nobody really knows what to believe. So it doesn't seem like it would help mental health at all. So what do you think? What do you think about like the idea that, like, you know, one of the bigger fallouts from this, considering we have had a suicide crisis in this country, you know, and an opioid crisis and all the crises, because of basically they call them diseases of despair, right? They call them like the diseases that follow places that are in economic ruin, places where people have no jobs.
Despair, I like that term.
They call it that because, well, part of it is like, do you know about that rat study they did a long ass time ago where they fucking put the rat in the cage with the cocaine, and they found out that the rat would continue to take cocaine over food and then eventually die or whatever? Well, they did they redid that rat study, and because that old rat study, that was an isolated rat, like a rat separated from the rest of
other rats.
Yeah, other rats. So what they did is they were like, okay, what if we ran the experiment where we left the social structure in place and just left the coke out? And they found that like none of the rats really went for it. Like it wasn't a thing. It wasn't attractive even. You know what I mean? So then it was like, oh, it kind of like the original model of drug abuse was based on this idea is that the substance is so addictive that it will override your natural fucking impulses to eat and survive or whatever without thinking about psychology.
No other reason to live except cocaine.
Exactly. So the new experiment shows that it's actually social isolation that caused him to go to cocaine, not the other way around. You know what I mean? So that is actually, so what they're seeing is that in places where people are isolated socially, especially because of economic depression and fucking people moving away and whatever the fuck, these are the diseases of drug abuse and suicide. Those are the fucking places where that shit happens the most, So given that, I feel like, well, this can't, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like weird because it's so politicized. You're not allowed to say that like maybe the cure is worse than the disease or something like that. You're not allowed to say that, but like.
I'm all red and blue and.
Yeah, but it's very possible that there's going to be more people dying from mental health issues, or because of losing their jobs and fucking economic issues, than the actual.
Well, we have no idea if they hung themselves in their closet because nobody's noticed that they're missing because they're all in their houses too.
Yeah, everybody's
selling funky shit around. That's when we know bitches be dead, and then we might solve the homeless problem in LA because now there's affordable housing.
Oh, because everybody's dead. Yeah, well, that people are. I feel like there's a lot of people like kind of watching the list of old people right now to see if any of them get it, like to see if their houses become available and stuff. But I don't know, man.
That's since before the disease, man.
Yeah, I know. And so now they're doing a double time. But I mean,
come on, Betty. Fill it. You got me.
2 bedroom, one control 2 bedroom. Let's go. Like I don't know. Like I feel, we'll fucking see. I guess. Like a lot of people are saying, also, there's like crazy statistics. Like 1 in 5 restaurants are going to survive this thing. Like small businesses are fucking going to be shutting down in droves. So like, if you really think of just comedy in general, just having a venue is probably going to be tough. There probably will be some demand for open mics. And so that might go on, but people might not want to gather and stuff. I don't know. I mean, we're still kind of like.
I've been thinking about just subjecting people to my nasty, dark energy comedy in the grocery line. Just, you're all in the line. I'm going to just come up here and make you listen to me. I'm just going to, it's for my sanity. No.
It would truly start jailing us, rounding all the comedians up at that point. It'd be like, we found a group of people that we think we can all agree. We're going to round up and put into camps. And it's open micers. People who are still, who have never been on the Tonight Show or the, like, I don't know. Well, I don't know. On the other hand, you know what? Like, I feel like there was a big we were in the middle of like a shift. We're in the middle of a shift, and this thing just basically is accelerating it, and I think a lot of the old ways, essentially like even the club system was a kind of a dinosaur model that was being propped up. You know what I mean? Like the sort of getting on the late night and having a spot on TV, like that whole system is sort of, you know what I mean? Like all these old sort of structures, like the way you used to make it as a comedian or whatever, are kind of, I think.
You know what's sad? This is the new format. We have to embrace the materials of this shit. I'm in a fucking box.
Yeah, I mean but I think
how am I gonna make this work for me? How can I make this funny? What can I do? This is the new materials. One day they discovered, radio, and they were like, oh, but they can't see shit, so we got to make sound effects and shit, and Foley artists, and this will. Yeah,
this will be its own medium, but at the same time, I don't think. It's not forever. You know what I mean? Like it will eventually, like 2 years, say, even people will start gathering again. There's going to be
history books about this shit.
Yeah, it'll be a big thing. But at the same time, you know what? There was a big ass pandemic in like 57, and nobody remembers that shit. Nobody remembers.
Polio?
Huh?
Polio?
No, they called it the Hong Kong flu back then because nobody cared about it.
No, I'm sorry. They all come from China.
They do.
China, you're cool. You're
fine.
inventing fireworks, but you keep inventing diseases.
It's completely fine. No. You know why? It's because there's billions of people stacked on top of it. That's literally the reason why. It's not.
It spreads so quickly. I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
why do they keep coming from there? I don't hear of a lot of diseases that, you know what? If I heard of a lot of diseases, why don't they come out of India? There's lots of people in India.
India has an interesting thing about being tropical. There's like a weird thing about the tropics that, for some reason, a lot of the pandemics that occur, the diseases seem to come out of like this temperate zone. It's like a strip that China is part of, Europe is part of, USA is part of. You know what I mean? It's like the same strip. So that's who kind of gets fucked a lot.
There's probably another little bit in South Africa and Africa, but nobody cares about that.
Yeah. And it actually, what happens like with the flu is it flips. So it goes down south when it gets cold down there. And then when, you know what I mean? When it's their winter, it goes down there. So it's probably going to go down there now because it's there. And then that's why there was 2 waves for the Spanish flu, because when fall came, it came back up here because it was circulating down south and then it came back. So, that's possible too. I feel like we had a swine flu that actually came out of the US that we don't talk about. It came out of our pig farm and went over and fucked up Asia.
They brought it back. I thought it came from China because I'm a racist piece of shit.
No, but you know what I mean? It's very natural for countries to point at each other and be like, yeah, but honestly,
a lot of Spanish flu because everybody else was doing World War II shit or World War I shit, and Spain was dealing with their own like civil war. So they're like, we haven't heard from Spain in a while. It must be the Spanish flu.
Yeah, it was just propaganda. It was basically just to make it look bad. So, so I think, in the end, it really doesn't matter. Like, I don't really, as the Asian guy who people would beat up on the street for whatever reason, like, I really don't care. It doesn't fucking matter because they would beat me up for whatever reason they wanted to. So it's not like calling a virus a Chinese virus or calling it this or that. It doesn't fucking matter. But I think it is important to be like, hey, how did this start? And how do we not let it happen again? And not really be like, oh, that's racist. No, literally, because it could have been the wet market thing, like they're saying. But there's
I
also.
think we just need to find the one guy that ate the bat and just hate him.
Well, the thing is, and this could be a complete coincidence, there happens to be an Institute of Virology actually right next to the wet market that they're blaming this whole thing on. It's probably just a coincidence. I mean, I don't know. But it is a fact. It's a fact that is a thing. So
I would believe this if it was a neurological disease. For sure, I would be all over that. But no, this is a respiratory thing. So,
but the thing is, this disease is SARS-2, and what we don't know about here is how bad SARS-1 was in Asia. And SARS-1 fucked Asia up. Like they're actually very super traumatized from SARS-1. That's actually why they're
Orientals.
Right. But it
sounds like a rug.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It'll switch. We used to be called yellow. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I think we should all go back to colors.
Yeah, just go back to yellow's fine. At least it's more honest and descriptive. Asia doesn't mean anything because Asia is like India and Russia and China. And nobody looks the same. Asia's just not. It doesn't even. Actually, if you look at the map, there's no separation between Europe and Asia. There's no line. There's no. It's actually one
Caspian Sea, Crimean thing where they're like, let's just put the line in between here and we'll call it a day, kind of thing. And then it goes into the stands.
I think it's kind of more of like, you guys are a little bit more different than we are. Yeah. We'll put the line right here where you're kind of dark, or you're a little bit darker than we are. There's like, I have a joke that's like, it's really Eurasia, but instead they were like, Eurasia.
Instead, Eurasia.
Yeah, we're not Asia, Eurasia. And that's really what the struggle is of Eastern Europe, is to make sure they're not on the wrong side of that line.
But like Russia can have the whole top half of Asia, by the way, and they're like, you're Russian. I'm like, because it's cold? That's their excuse?
Yeah, no, they're fucking Asian. Yeah, exactly. If Asian is a thing, they're Asian as well, and then that's just how
Mongolians are weird.
Mongolians are crazy. They are once very proud people, now reduced to a backwater sort of.
Sometimes I forget Mongolia is there if it weren't for Genghis Khan, man.
He put it on the map. I mean, he really did. He was the original, the OG. And after that, actually, he's the reason why I think Asian parents have such high expectations for their kids. You know, he's just he conquered 100% of landmass of Asia. You know, like
except for India, because like he got to the Himalayas and he's like, dude, fuck this.
Yeah, but he fucked up Poland. I mean, he got all the way to Poland.
He got real fucking far.
I mean, he got. I mean, not him literally. It was one of his lieutenants, and that was just a scouting party. But they fucked up Ukraine. They fucked up Kiev. You know, fucked up Kiev. They fucked up Warsaw, and then had to turn back. But it's a wild time. The wild time. Also, speaking of pandemics, they blame Genghis Khan on spreading Black Plague back then because of all the people they were moving around.
I was reading that it was some ship that came into a port in Messini. I didn't bother to look up where Messini was because when the ship came into port, everybody was either dead or dying in this ship.
Oh, wait, this rings a bell. Yeah, they were all dead, and then they ended up killing the entire town. Yeah, and then they spread it to the whole town.
And then...
Hey, I mean, that's what happened with Cortez, I think, and the Aztecs. Like, there were, like, he had 500 conquistadors, and they marched, and they ended up getting, like, a few more men or whatever, but there was 1 million people inside the main city. But by the time they got there, like, 90% of them were dead from something, pox or some disease. Whatever disease that they spread, they basically... So that's how they conquered it. They fucking wiped out the entire... They had no idea that it was going to happen. But they ended up just wiping out the entire city, but because they were dirty, you know. So
they were dirty.
That's basically the reason. It's
because like it could be infected by fleas and rats, and that's what really did them over. Because there were rats on ships and shit.
Yeah. So, rats bringing them over. Yeah, and also having domesticated animals and being so close together exposes us to a lot of stuff and gives us like immunity.
Yeah, Jews didn't catch much of the Black Plague because we were over there. We don't fuck with rats or domesticated animals. You've never heard of a Hebrew spaniel, have you? There's no Hebrew spaniels. There's no like Jewish Jack Russell Terriers. They're just like, we don't normally fuck with that. We like them now, but.
Well, I think the big thing also was that culturally they bathed, which back then was like a weird. Like it was really weird if you took baths.
Jews before every meal have to wash their hands and say a prayer.
Yeah, that was really gross. Yeah, that back then you're like, because nobody knew about germs, so they're like, why are you doing that? Weird hand washing Jews.
Weird. Yeah, weird. That's weird. You clap during your prayers. Weird.
Because they didn't bathe. They literally didn't bathe back then. You know, there was but
I'm thinking about all this and like, we really fucked over the Native Americans, man. We brought diseases and we tried to kill them. And man. Let's have a moment of silence for them. Jesus Christ.
I mean, it might be a little late, but okay, sure. I'm with you. I mean, it does suck. It does. It certainly does suck. Well, Mia, I know none of us are doing comedy or doing any shows or anything.
But we're staying sane.
Yeah, but we're out here. We're doing anything. Are you doing any? You doing any podcasts? Are you doing anything where the people out there can find you?
I'm doing a Zoom show.
Yeah.
On this Sunday or this Friday. I'm sorry, the days of the week. What are they anymore? I have a Zoom show on Friday at 1 p.m. It's a British show. It's international. Sweet. I need to do more of these fucking Zoom shows, man. I should be doing these all day.
I mean, I guess that's just what we do for now. So, I mean, I'm coming around. I know it's not stand-up, but it's its own thing. So. It's like, whatever, you know, got to do something.
This is a new format. This is our new radio.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, you know? So the Zoom show, if anybody was interested in finding it.
There is a post on my Facebook and I also believe my Instagram at Mia fucking Mars that will have the Zoom link if I recall correctly.
Boom. Mia fucking Mars on Instagram. Find the Zoom link. Well, thank you.
Before we leave, I want to say a quick thing.
What's that?
It's easier than ever to not be socially isolated. We are not rats in a maze. We have technology like this, and we still have neighbors. And if you need help, get the help you need. Don't go to rehab if you're crazy. Don't go to the psych ward if you're an alcoholic. And if you have COVID, you're just dead.
Yeah, I think that's all very positive. That's all. Well, actually, my favorite thing you said was don't be afraid to go to the psych ward. So I think that's a good piece of advice because honestly, you should have.
Don't be afraid to get the help you need and get the right help. Get the right help. Don't just accept. Don't get any help because it might hurt you. Get the help that you think is a good idea.
I mean, if anything, you should maybe think of doing an intervention for your mom to send her to the psych ward. That feels like
I'm thinking about doing that the next time she does something fucking crazy. Next time she does something crazy, payback.
Well, you know what you should do is you should hold.
Quarantine is payback for her. I'm like, this is God paying you back for putting me.
Dude, it should be an intervention inception where you trick her into thinking she's doing an intervention for you, and then it turns one into one for her. I think this is like a Mr. Show sketch or something, but I think it would be fucking great because then in the middle of the intervention for you, people would be turning around and being like, this is the behavior that we're talking about with you. And they turn it on her. And then you could that would be, because then she would probably lose her shit and she might have to go to the psych ward. But I mean, hey, I don't know. What do I know? I'm not a doctor, you know?
We're just trying our best.
Yes.
Rose and Kim, thank you for having me. Mr. Kim, I love you. Thank you for this.
Oh, man, love you too. I'm so glad that you're still here among the living with us.
Dude, I like this new planet. I love the new normal. There's no traffic in LA anymore.
Oh, it's
the
clean.
homeless problem is fixed.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty fucking rad. I like the masks. They're a new fashion staple I'm embracing. I miss wearing lipstick, but that's okay.
Yeah, it'll come back. All that stuff, you know, we'll appreciate it more when it comes back. I think that.
Yeah, we will.
Yep. All right, Mia. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Hey, how do I end this? There we go. Bye.
See ya.